Welcome to the Wildcats Podcast, coming to you from Wildcats Studios, with your hosts Adam Lund and Jeremy Boucher.
Welcome back to another episode of the Wildcats Podcast, your unofficial voice for all things Moncton Wildcats. As always, I am your host, Adam Lund, and I am joined in studio again by your favorite co-hoster, Mass Singer aficionado, and I guess now Big Brother Canada aficionado, Mr. Boucher. How you doing?
Very good, sir. You finally threw in your last name there.
Yeah, I realized I was going through it today, and I was like, I should probably put my last name there.
Yeah, in case people need to know who you are.
Yeah.
But yes, here we are. Still in the orange phase.
For now, we'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah.
Since we talked last week, there was, 0 cases. When
was the last time that happened?
Yeah, it was actually December the 20th.
First of all, when was the last time we were in studio back-to-back weeks?
Right.
With 0 cases?
Yes, exactly. So I did before. It was last Tuesday when we had 0 cases. Prior to that was December the 20th. And I did say something on last week's show that I kind of have to correct myself on, but at the same time, it almost looks as if I was psychic. So I said last week something about Zone 7 and the outbreak in Zone 7. Well, Zone 7 is actually the Miramichi region.
Right.
What I actually meant was Zone 4. But ever since then, where have the most cases been from? The Miramichi.
What are you guys doing up there?
So I don't know if I'm, some sort of a psychic, because honestly, like of all the zones, all the 7 zones in the province, I think, the Miramichi zone has been the best.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire.
Isn't that where the vaccine is?
That's where the initial.
Right. Was there because it kind of
were.
Everybody could go there.
Yeah. So that's where the initial, vaccine clinic was. But I mean, I think the whole. I'm not sure on their numbers here, but. I don't think they've gone over 10 cases the entire pandemic. And here we are now. They've got 5 cases in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully this doesn't take us away from our yellow progression. But it's if it does, then we can all go yellow. Miramichi can hold off a little bit. Yeah, they've had active cases since during the entire pandemic, 14 in the entire zone since March of last year. So that's pretty good. That's
wow. Yeah,
that's the lowest, I think, because Bathurst has been pretty low too, but they've had 27, so that's the lowest of all the zones in the province. So they've done very well. Hopefully, what they've got going on, they're up there right now, can kind of ease off a little bit. Because I wouldn't mind
hockey,
tuning up that some Coldplay, we're all yellow, on Sunday at midnight, Monday morning. I'd love to play that song because I'd probably request that on every radio station Monday morning.
Yeah, it might be the lead to next week's show. Who knows?
Could be. But yeah, no, it's good to be here. We got some shows to talk about.
We got our pulp culture part of the show. Yes, Hell's Kitchen. Last week I said Lauren was just hanging on. Man, just couldn't cook the steak for an extra 2 minutes, and that was it. But I think she was gonna go home regardless. I think she was kind of at her end. So that leaves us with Mark, Adam, Amber, Cody, Declan for Team Blue, Nikki, Jordan, Mary Lou, and Corey for Team Red. It's getting down to it. I
still like my final 4. I still like Declan and Cody, and I still like Amber and Mary Lou. That's my final. No, it's not Amber. Sorry, Corey, Mary Lou, Declan, and Cody as my final 4.
Yeah, I still think I was going for Lauren, so I'm out on Team Red. But I still am pumping Declan's tires. I think he's got a chance to. He just looks like a leader. I think Corey would be the woman I would probably go with. But I mean, they can all. It was weird to see no service. Do they usually do that at about this point?
There's always something like that on every season.
Yeah.
And it always, I always see it coming. So I don't know if like these chefs must be completely clueless and never watched a season of Hell's Kitchen before.
It does seem like when you watch reality shows,
it's just they have to see this coming, and they don't. So it's unless they're very good actors and they just pretend, oh no,
yeah.
But I saw it coming. It happens every season.
The director's like, okay, we're gonna do that twist thing. Remember, fake that you don't know it's coming.
Yeah.
Even though we're on season 19 and you've probably seen this,
pretend you've never seen this before.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least once a year, and they always do a thing where the chefs take a turn at running the pass, and the sous chef, so the blue-haired guy, I forget his name, and I think it's Christina that's the sous chef on the red team. They'll purposely like sabotage the food, so when they're on the pass, they have to taste it and try to pick out what the right. So they might take they might substitute lobster for crab or something like that,
right.
And the chef has to be able to taste it, and if not, they kind of looks and makes them look bad. But that's probably a little further on into the season,
right?
But I mean, they should expect that.
Speaking of multiple seasons, Big Brother Canada is back tonight. I guess when Chris was here, it was your guys' gig. You guys were the watchers of it. I've seen one episode or one season of Big Brother. It was the very first one in America. The girl with the purple hair got screwed over by the guy's town, and I never watched it again. So I guess this is your time. Do we have any Maritime hopefuls, and what are you expecting?
So I've looked through the cast. Doesn't appear to be any Maritimers. There is a Newfoundlander, I believe, by the name of Tina from Paradise. He's a graphic designer.
Ooh.
So I it's you probably want my prediction of who I think is going to win here. When I first saw the house guest list, I liked the look of this Ethan guy. But ever since the list came out, we've learned that Ethan will no longer be on the show because of some allegations that were brought forward from his past.
Check your past, kids, if you're going to be on these TV shows.
Yeah. Make sure you've not called anybody inappropriate words and or
been inappropriate
during your years in high school. So yes, he was replaced by Kyle Moore. He's a hockey coach from Red Deer, Alberta, and a former member of the I'm thinking he was a hockey player as well. He's got an eliteprospects.com page. So he's a former member of the University of Lethbridge.
Pronghorns?
Is that what they're called?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So he played for them in the 2015-2016 season, 8 games, and then in the 2016-2017 season played 2 games. Previously was with the Olds Grizzlies of the Alberta Junior Hockey League, and then prior to that played his looks like would that be midget double A with the Red Deer Pro Stitch. And then some junior A with the Princeton Posse, which I think is a pretty good name. So yes, he's going to be entering as we're taking Ethan's spot in the house. But just looking at the house guest list, if I were to pick a favorite, I'm going to go with Rohan from Toronto, a strategic partnerships manager. I don't think he's going to tell the house guests that he's a strategic partnerships manager. Because that will tell them automatically that he can, do kind of the different sides of, play the house. And kind of reminds me of a Paul from Big Brother USA. So it wouldn't surprise me if this guy makes it, final 2, and then just loses because of bad jury management. So
right.
I'll just pick him, but I think he'll go far in the show. But I think it'll come down to just the way he treats everybody that he'll end up probably losing.
Yeah, and I mean, now that we're hopefully going to have back-to-back shows every week, maybe we'll get our former co-host Chris on here, and you guys can have your little Big Brother segment for all the fans because I can't help anyone. If I'm going to pick one just randomly, let's go with Tara Gillen Petrozzi.
There you go.
I'll just pick that name off the top of the hat just by looking at pictures. Yeah, and I mean, we started this pop culture with the Love of the Masked Singer. There's going to be some changes for the show. Did you know there might be a Canadian Masked Singer?
I did not know that. No.
Yeah. So if
that is news to me.
If you Masked Singer and just click on Masked Singer Wikipedia, this thing is worldwide. Like, Canada could, it says season 1, fall of 2021 with a question mark. But I mean, Germany's had 4 seasons. Indonesia's had 4 seasons. Italy's had 2. Mexico's had 3. There was Thailand. This is massive in Thailand. They're already up to season 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we're at season 5 now. So again, all the co-hosts are coming back. Ken Jeong, Jenny McCarthy, Nicole Schissinger, and Robin Thicke. But what's changing is, where was that? Yeah. So for the first time, the show will feature unnumbered of wild card rounds. These rounds will feature new masked celebrities introduced during the run of the show. These Wildcats take the stage at the end of the show for a chance to unseat another contestant in the group and join the race. So they're going to have 10 wild card contestants split into 2 groups of 5, and the wild cards we're not going to know until they show up. So putting a little bit of a different spin, because I mean, it would get boring watching the same style of show over and over again. So
I'm a big fan of change. I like change.
Yeah. We're not going to know who these. They've not yet been revealed. They probably won't be revealed until, I would guess, the lead up on the commercial of. You're not going to believe this happened with this random mass. So it should be interesting to try and figure out who these people are, as well as wild cards. So as always, you can follow us on Twitter, Moncton Wildcats, and Instagram Wildcats Podcast for anything hockey related and our pop culture. So now we're going to have no quick questions, so let's get to news and notes from around the queue.
News and notes from around the queue.
Well, we're going to have hockey. We're going to finally maybe... Every time you do that, I think of Superstore, that kid.
Bo?
Yeah.
He's my favorite, man. That guy puts me on my knees every time he opens his mouth.
Starts the show off buying a wedding ring for like $10. You want this $30 one? All right. God, that kid. I did finish season 1, but yeah. Provided the Moncton has a good spring break, we're going to be back to yellow March 8th, which means all 3 teams in the province can get back to playing hockey against one another. We had the schedule drop earlier. Moncton has 8 games, 4 versus each team, beginning the march to the playoffs on the 11th here at home against Bathurst with fans.
Oh, yeah.
With fans. I think that's probably the most surprising part, is the fact that we're going to have fans.
The Maritime Division, let's be honest, these teams, they didn't get a government handout. Like the Quebec teams. I think the Quebec teams got $1 million each or something like that.
$1 million split, I believe.
Split? Okay, my bad. $1 million each would be so serious. So yeah, like they're getting that sort of revenue. And so yeah, that's why we need fans in the stands here in the Maritimes, because we don't get any handouts from the government or anything like that. So you know what? Again, this goes back to my like I said, there's still we're still 6 days away from orange or yellow, excuse me.
Yeah.
And 8 days away from the first game on home ice. A lot can happen. At this point, you really just have to keep your fingers crossed and hope we can get into these get into that building and watch some hockey. But it's the Maritime teams would not play unless they have that the gate revenue. Yeah. So that's that we need the fans in the stands.
The remaining schedule, they're at home on March 13th. Then they go on the road the 17th of March, and they come back home on the 20th. On the road in St. John on the 21st. On the road in Bathurst on the 24th. At home on the 26th, and in Bathurst on the 28th. So it should 8 games. You're hoping to go 5-3, but I don't even care what they go. I'm just excited to play hockey and talk about actual games, right?
Same. It's going to be nice. It's I think I forget how to tweet during the games.
Yeah.
You'll have to give me a quick refresher on that one.
We'll just watch the scrimmage again in practice.
Yeah. Live.
We'll get into that.
Live tweet the scrimmage. When it was live tweet the scrimmage every day.
Yeah.
Just as a practice run. But no, it's going to be really fun to get back into that building. And we've seen from Neil Hodge, the players are super excited. The Wildcats front office is super excited. And the fans are super excited. It's finally, right? It's been since November 14th.
Yep.
That the Wildcats played. I don't even know what Dakota Lund Cornish's shutout streak is at right now. 106 days.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's something serious, and it's gonna be fun. The boys up in Bathurst are fired up. We're fired up. Does St. John even have a podcast?
No.
Tozer, I guess. Maybe.
Tozer's fired up.
Tozer's fired up too. He was on Global News the other day.
Sweet background too.
Yeah,
I was like, how many little hockey dudes do you collect? Looked like he had all of Team Canada up there.
Yeah, so it's a good. I guess it all comes back to my rant last week. It's when Boucher talks, the people listen, right? And it's
technically
I have that pull. I have the pull with the government. It's. They clearly listened to the show. They heard what I said. They say, what, this guy makes a lot of sense. We'll sit down and we'll meet with the teams and maybe come up with a plan. And little did we know, the province had a press conference on Friday, and they were saying we'd be yellow on March the 8th. So yep. It's amazing what I can manage to pull off when I passionately speak on the podcast. And I even.
Now about that, you have pull with the New Brunswick government,
right? No, that's where I'm getting there.
Now, we'll put a bow on this. Stay tuned to the Wildcats Twitter and Instagram stuff for ticket updates, because all the games got moved around. So, there's going to be different games for different tickets. So they'll have all that information, because I'm not even going to try and figure out, because A, I don't have to, and B, it looks like a lot of work to figure out what games are for what. So while it's good news for New Brunswick teams, in the Maritime Division, we're only allowed to apparently have 3 teams playing at once, it seems. It's not so much good news for the Islanders and the Mooseheads. They were postponed for a couple weeks due to COVID-19, leaving the poor Eagles without a province and a place to play. So, like I said, you got pull with the New Brunswick government. What happened with the Nova Scotia government?
Well, this is where what I said earlier about how, I praised the Nova Scotia government last week, and I praised the PEI government last week. Boy, how things can change in 7 days. That's why I said earlier, keep your fingers crossed, because this virus can take a turn for the worst. Just with the flick of a finger. Yep. We got the Mooseheads shut down for a month. They can't play games for a month. The Charlottetown Islanders are out for, I think it's 2 weeks. I think. But this is where I kind of want to get into it again, because the Nova Scotia government was so concerned about community transmission that that's why they made these these decisions to shut down the Mooseheads and shut down sports events and stuff for a month. Since they made that announcement, there have been 0 cases which are labeled as under investigation, which would be community transmission. They're all close contacts of previous cases, or they're travel related.
Right.
So these people are already self-isolating. Fortunately, I watched the Nova Scotia press conference today. And their chief medical officer, Dr. Strang, said things are looking promising. We may be able to lift restrictions before March 26th or 27th, whenever it was. So that sounds like good news, hopefully, for the Mooseheads. Obviously they're going to have another press conference on Friday. So I'm sure they'll kind of look how things are going up until Friday. Hopefully we can get the Mooseheads back, a lot sooner than March, the end of March. Same thing on PEI. The concerns on PEI are a little more concerning given the size of their province. But, they've got 20 or 20-something cases. Martin from Gatineau was ranting on Twitter about how 20 cases shouldn't result in the team being shut down. Well, Martin, let's be honest. I mean, the population of PEI is 150,000 people.
Yeah.
That would be basically, if you want to look at it, you look at Moncton, Riverview, and Dieppe. I'm pretty sure if you put all those three, all of us together, I think it's like 175,000 people. If there was suddenly 20 cases in Moncton, Riverview, and Dieppe, we would be shut down as well. So it's, look, I don't think he understands. He's been to PEI before because I know he was at the draft, but I don't think he understood the kind of the per capita of cases to population. So that's the concern on the island right now. I think what they say, they did something like 10,000 tests since Friday, which, I mean, to me, that's almost the entire population of PEI. Joking aside, but that's a lot of tests. And I mean, they had a press conference today where they announced 4 new cases, and there's still 2,000 tests pending, right? So, of those 2,000 tests, that there could be, I mean, there's not going to be 2,000 positives, hope to God, but but you know what I mean, right? It's there's definitely more concern right now on the island, and I was going to go a little hard rant wise on this part right here, especially towards the Nova Scotia government. That was until I watched their press conference earlier today, and they said they'll look at things on Friday and make a decision. I don't see the concern in Nova Scotia right now. I don't see the concern in Halifax right now. There was, when they have a big company like the Irving Shipyard, and I think that's where things started. At the Irving Shipyard, there was concern that, 1,500 employees in that one building, how it could spread. And I think there's only 1 or 2 employees that ended up being positive. So it's a lot. The news in Halifax is a lot better than what the start of the week looked like, which is good. So hopefully, by the middle of March, we might be able to get some Eagles and Mooseheads games. I think the Islanders might need to sit out for a couple more weeks. So fingers crossed. We've got all the Maritime teams playing at the end of March, and I'm not too sure about this Atlantic bubble thing. We might have to do 2 months of New Brunswick games against New Brunswick teams. I don't think the Atlantic bubble will be a thing again until mid to late April. So let's just enjoy some games against the Teton, the Sea Dogs, and get those two that season series out of the way, and then we'll focus on Charlottetown, Halifax, and Cape Breton when we get the chance.
Yeah, because they wanted to get 60 games in for a regular season. I don't know if we're going to get that. If the bubble doesn't open till late April, that's close to we don't know what's happening in the OHL. The WHL is BC just got approval to have two protective environments. So if there's no Memorial Cup because the OHL isn't playing, we can extend the season a little bit longer. Hopefully we can have a bubble by the time the Atlantic bubble by the time we get to what can be constructed as playoffs. Mm-hmm. Like if we got to just play 3 teams and that's your season, and then you can cross in to make playoffs, then okay, it is what it is. But when did we go from certain different zones, and we're not going to turn this into a COVID podcast, but when did we go from breaking up in different zones, and this zone's in orange and this zone's in yellow and this zone's here and here, to when something happens in the province, the whole province is shut down? Like, it just seems like, if it's bad in Halifax, which is tough because there's only 3 teams, but if it's, why shut down the whole province when you can just divide it into zones? It just kind of seems like it switched all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
I think that only happened kind of, at Christmas time and the holidays, where, wasn't the entire province red at one point?
Yeah, I think so.
And like I said, Miramichi was sitting on 0 cases for an entire month, and they were still in red, right? So I think it was more or less just to wasn't a warning from the government. It was more like to start doing your part, because if you don't, this is what can happen, kind of thing. But it's progress, right? Because it's not when if something happens in Miramichi in the next week, I don't think it's going to affect the entire province. Hopefully it only affects their zone. Because you got to look at, last summer, and I think it was the end of June where, Campbellton had that outbreak, right? The whole province was yellow.
Yeah.
And they had that outbreak up in Campbellton, and their zone, I think it's 5,
shut her down.
They went to orange, right?
Yeah.
And that was kind of the first setback from when they started introducing these colors. So it's not it doesn't happen where it's if one zone kind of sees an increase in cases that the whole province gets set back. I think that was more or less a Christmas, New Year's kind of thing where the whole province got out of hand. And that's
Sure.
I'm just hoping this is kind of the last setback, right? Not necessarily setback, but this is like, once we go to yellow, I want to stay in yellow.
Yeah.
I don't want to see us in orange or red again, or even lockdown for that matter. I want to see us, low case counts, screw off variants, go to hell.
I got a lot of messages about your potato variant.
Potato variant and the blue nose variant. Well, that's what's going on the island right now, right?
Yeah.
It's this potato variant and the blue nose variant. But that's, once we go to yellow, I want to stay in yellow. I don't want any of these restrictions again.
No, we'd actually like to
get
watch
this over with.
We'd actually like to watch hockey in March, right?
Yes. March, April, May.
Yeah.
I want to be drunk on my birthday inside the Avenir Center. Even if it's the middle of May, I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to talk to the commissioner and see if he has and he probably doesn't, because everything's changing, whether it's a game amount or a date amount. And you finish by this date, and then we're going to go with playoffs. But, we haven't talked about Team of the Week, so because there was a Maritime player on Team of the Week, we're just going to wrap up the news with Zach LaRue for Halifax. He had 2 games, 4 points. Maverick Bork, Sean Element were the forwards. Sean Rochelle, and who was the defenseman? Louis Crevier and Alex Shank to round out the goaltending. So that was your Team of the Week. So now we're going to bring back a segment we brought back last week from the preseason. We're going to get a view from the other bench.
View from the other bench.
All right, like I said, we brought this back last week. We did it kind of in the preseason. It was a lot of fun, so we thought, you know what, let's do it all over again. But this time we're going to go to the other wrestling superfan we know and play-by-play voice of the Cape Breton Eagles, our friend, Pat McNeil. Pat, how are you doing?
Doing good, and I assume since you brought it up, you're already aware of the big move, the end of the Wednesday Night Wars, just hours before we record this.
I am not aware of that. What's happening?
Break it up on me.
What's that?
Hello? I said you're breaking up on me. I couldn't hear you.
I said I'm not aware of the news. What happened?
NXT moving to Tuesdays.
Oh, all right. I thought maybe AEW was folding or something all of a sudden.
That will be somewhat substantial. That can't happen before Shaq gets his payday.
Yeah.
I'm ready for this Randy Orton Soldier Boy match at SummerSlam.
You know what? I just saw something about Soldier Boy, and I have no idea. I mean, it'd probably be better than what's going on with the Fiend, right? That's just horrible.
Yeah, apparently Soldier Boy called somebody's rap fake as WWE, and Randy Orton late at night with nothing left to do, just kind of went after him, and Soldier Boy was like, I stand behind what I said, and he's like, Randy Orton's like, well, we're basically stunt coordinators for 200 days a year, but you're welcome to come into our world, and yeah, it was quite fun.
Wow. Bad Bunny's doing it, so.
Yeah, Jesus. I saw that from one of the pay-per-views I was watching, and I think it was Royal Rumble, and I was like, what is this crap? I guess just before we get into hockey, I mean, Lashley winning the title last night on Raw. We had Aiden on last week, and he kind of thought The Miz was going to have a little bit of a longer run so that Drew McIntyre could have his moment in SoFi with a full crowd. But, I mean, this kind of sets up Lashley Lesnar, does it not?
Well, or Lashley Drew, perhaps.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I know Aiden had some sort of long-term booking that made sense, but obviously whatever he was proposing is not going to happen now. But
he didn't.
I can't remember if I told you this, but I wanted to credit a friend of mine after the weekend performed at the Super Bowl. He said, finally, we hear Blinding Lights played at Raymond James Stadium.
Yeah. Is that Drew McIntyre's song?
No, that was the weekend. That was the theme for the last WrestleMania that was supposed to be in Tampa Bay.
Was it?
Yeah, that was WrestleMania 36 theme.
Oh, I didn't know what the theme was from way back
then. That's what
then.
it was. And then he performed it at the halftime show.
Okay,
to tie into hockey, we actually watched on the bus. So we were wearing masks. So I think we can say we were at the largest legal Super Bowl gathering in the province.
Yeah, you might possibly have been in that. It's funny, other little piece of trivia. The only 2 times Tampa's been in the Super Bowl, it's been Canadian halftime performances. When they were
Would it have been Shania the last time?
Shania in 2002 in San Diego, where I don't know if she sang, but her track sounded great. And then
well, further trivia on that is you said that was 2002?
Yeah. Well, 2003.
She did 2003.
Yeah.
She did the Grey Cup, I think, 2002, because I remember she did them back to back. And it was the first and only time that it ever happened.
And that was, I think her performance there was even worse because I remember correctly, it was in Edmonton and it was a lot colder, and somehow guitar players could play these awesome licks with gloves. So
funny how that works.
Yeah, it's weird how that happens. But I mean, as much fun as we like talking about anything other than hockey,
well, there's no hockey going on now to talk about, right?
That's true. I mean, you finally get a bit of a rest, and it looks like a much needed rest for the Eagles. As you're a half Q team, half call-ups, which makes a lot of sense because you don't even have a province to play from. So just how welcomed, other than the fact that you got shut down, is this little breakup to heal up?
Yeah, you know what? I don't even think anybody is pretending to be fully upset about it. Obviously, the reasons for it are, we want everybody to be healthy, we want everybody to stay safe. But in terms of the effect on the ice, most guys would tell you it's a good break because, as you said, the roster's running thin, and there were nights you're dressing 6 call-up players, so it was or had 6 guys out of the lineup, I should say, with injury. So, in a year where you're carrying a smaller roster, and the caliber of players being out hurts too, because, if you know anything about this Eagles team, the 20-year-olds, Baker and LaRose on the back end, and we had a rotation of the 2 of them being out. LaRose was out for a week or 2, and then as soon as he came back, Baker went out on the sidelines. So you'd be missing one of those 2 guys, and Jeremy Langlois also. That's a lot of punch missing on the back end. So the 20-year-old defenseman that has been in the lineup has been counted on a lot. And also Logan Kelly-Murphy has blocked hundreds of shots this month, it seems like. So it'll be good to get the corps hopefully back up and ready to go. I don't know if we were to start in 2 weeks, if they would all be ready to come back, all the players that were hurt. But, hopefully some of them will get the chance to heal up. I know they were kind of looking forward to the opportunity to do so. I mean, obviously there'll still be practices and whatnot, but it's if something like this has to happen, I guess this is as good a time as any for the Eagles.
I guess anytime there's injuries or there's a chance for these call-ups to to strut their stuff, and they didn't. I guess they took advantage of that opportunity. Kean Bell and Trey Sturge and all these kids scoring as call-ups. What were your impressions of these young guys?
Well, what's interesting is pretty much all the guys that called up were players that weren't at training camp in the traditional sense. I'm trying to remember if Kean Bell was there or not. I think he was. But Trey Sturge and Michael McQuaid were players that we traded for, so they didn't have the opportunity to come to camp. Sturge scores, as you said. McQuaid has played, I think, 7 straight games now with the Eagles, so he's basically become a regular defenseman. So I think, in a way, it's been training camp for those guys. So I think it's been good. I mean, it's this, you don't want to see anybody hurt, obviously, but it's been the silver lining, the fact that those guys are getting a chance to audition, and it's going to make decisions tougher where these guys have played so much at this level already. I mean, Kean Bell, you see the offensive flashes. He's leading the Nova Scotia under-18 league in scoring, and you wonder, doing that at 17 is one thing, but you're seeing like small glimpses that he could transfer that to the Q game. And even a guy like James Beaton, who wasn't drafted, 17-year-old free agent, comes out of, again, the U18 league, didn't look at a place when he was called up. Unfortunately, ends up taking a penalty that leads to a big goal, but, that was not from a lack of effort. So, yeah, no, definitely these guys are kind of putting themselves further in the conversation for roster spots next year. And as I said, it's a nice silver lining to a not pleasant situation.
We had you on in the preseason. We were talking about the goaltending battle, and through the preseason they kind of split the time. I guess just your take on the two goaltenders. I know Grimard was hurt for a little bit, but no one's really taken that crease like people thought maybe Grimard would. Just give us your take on your young rookie in Ruccia.
Ruccia, he's been great for a 16-year-old. I mean, obviously you're not going to ever get a consistent 16-year-old, and not ever, but it's extremely, extremely rare.
Right.
So I think for a first-round pick, he's been everything you could ask. And even a game like the last one where he allowed 3 goals on 23 shots, you look at it, that's not that great. But if you actually watch the game, you're like, oh, those weren't bad goals. So he's had a couple of rough games, but that's going to happen for a goaltender at 16. He's been great. And I think William Grimar's story's kind of been, he's always been on the verge, and then just when you think this guy's really kind of cementing himself, then something will happen. But to his credit, he did reel off a nice set of games there just kind of before we were shut down. And maybe this is going to be another situation where once he gets his momentum going, it's stalled because of the restart. So he might be somebody that actually doesn't benefit from this. But, based on what we saw the last few weeks, his play was very good as well. So, we knew goaltending, wasn't going to be a super strength of this team, but we certainly have seen good games from both of them. And kind of, based on what you could expect, I don't think there's too much disappointment in that regard. And, Ruccia for sure is looking great for the future, although he's going to be pushed now after the team went out and got Remy De La Fontaine at the trade period. So that'll be an interesting story to watch too.
Being a Wildcats fan, myself, we've had a lot of time to sit down and watch these Q games, and one player on the Eagles that I think has really stood out for me is Nathan LaRose. I think he's taken a really huge step forward. Over a point a game this season. What's really got him to where he is right now? From the night where Zach Alshorn took him out of his underwear for his first Q goal.
Well, you know what? The big thing with Nathan has been that he's been able to make these steps forward offensively while getting better in his own end. Because the jury was kind of, when he came to Cape Breton, this is a guy who's got some raw offensive talent. We don't know if he can, be the complete 200-foot guy, but he's really stepped in that respect. You see him blocking shots more, see him on the penalty kill as a fixture, and he just lives to score goals as well. I think mostly LaRose, but you see it a little bit with Baker too. The coaches said no when I've asked them about this, but just from an observational point of view, I do see the two of them driving the offense more after the top line got traded out. So, sometimes generally your center might lead the rush, but sometimes you'll see those two guys doing it and not, they're both good enough that they can get back to position, right? So that's been really exciting to watch. I mean, when he was acquired by the Eagles, Alex Drover's a first-round pick, and the Eagles trade him for LaRose, and you're wondering, well, that's kind of a steep price. And, I certainly hope Drover has a really good Q career, and it seems like he's turning it around in Rimouski, which is good to see. But you kind of start to see now why Marc-Andre Dumont made that trade. Like, oh, okay, he saw what could be in Nathan LaRose, and I just hope it's not too late for him to see some pro opportunities. I don't know if he'd be in university next year, but if you're a scout, certainly you'd have to at least give the guy a look. John Hanna, the assistant general manager, was on with me at the intermission the other day. And he said he's a bit of an unconventional player, and he might have to rein the offense in a little bit. But in terms of what works at this level, he is outstanding. And obviously the team thought there was a value to him helping the development of its youthful players, because I'm sure there were some strong offers for him. I can't imagine why a contender wouldn't want to have him in their lineup.
We haven't had John since preseason, so we kind of go over the trade deadline. I guess the big trade was Dawson Stairs coming over from St. John for Ryan Francis. Just talk about what Dawson Stairs has brought to the organization.
Oh, he's been fantastic. He has a point in every game but one. He's not a defensive liability by any stretch, but this is an offensive first player, and he's been great in that dimension. It's just kind of similar to what we were just talking about with Alex Drover. St. John had so many guys in that same age range. It was probably tough for them all to get opportunity. So now that they're kind of getting free and spread out around the league, you're starting to see what they can do. And obviously, he's getting top line ice time in Cape Breton that he wouldn't get in other places. But he's not looking at a place like the line with him and Hagerty-Aubin and Perret has been really good the last little while. And Hagerty-Aubin has really taken his game up since being put on the line with Stairs. So not only is Dawson a player that can contribute himself, but he also seems to bring up other players and just a real sharpshooter. Like once he gets the puck, you don't want to be in front of that shot because it's hard and it's very precise. So what he's doing up front, what LaRose is doing on the blue line, which has been fun to watch for us.
So I guess just my final question. I always like the behind the scenes kind of stuff, and as the Wildcats get into what's going to be their March season, just I guess what do these players have to go through on a day-to-day basis, as well as with all the testing and protocols and being on the road? Just give us a sense of what fans can expect these players are going to have to go through to play these games to give us a little bit of normalcy.
Well, it's interesting. I'm not at the rink as much because of just the new protocols and such. So it used to be if I was going to bank a few interviews with Eagles players, I'd go to the rink one day and maybe interview 2 or 3 guys. So I'm not seeing the full picture by not being at the rink for practice, which is, of course, just another byproduct of all the changes we've seen.
For sure.
It's probably not as different as people think, but I think people might be surprised by the mask obedience, for example. Like I was saying, I'm not kidding. On the bus, people might think, oh, yeah, they're behind the scenes. They're just going to do what they want. No, do the guys start wearing masks? And they're wearing masks walking around in the arena when they're not practicing. And the thing is, PEI obviously was very particular when they agreed to allow the Eagles and Mooseheads to come play in January. You have to be tested when you go over to PEI. You're isolated in your hotel, so you can't just frivolously go or whatever. So I think in a way, just kind of the compact nature of Major Junior makes it as such. So it maybe wasn't as big of an adjustment as it could have been because these guys are so kind of scheduled as it is. Practice, study session, sleep, go to the game. So maybe it's not as much different, but of course, the testing is not fun. So, you have to fill out the app every day on your phone, make sure you have no symptoms and whatnot. But, maybe not as different, but I'm sure if you were to ask the players, it would be another story. But I think another thing too, for us, we've got a team with a lot of young guys and rookies. And I think the comment has been made, it's been a bigger adjustment for a lot of the veterans because they already had, an image in their mind of what junior hockey is. Whereas, if you think about jumping from U18 to Major Junior in a normal year, there's a lot of things that are going to be different that you have to get used to. So for rookies, this COVID stuff is just another new thing that they're learning along with everything else. So it's definitely been different, but maybe not as different as people might think.
That's interesting.
So we'll just wrap it up a little bit here, Pat. I don't have a question for you, but if you listened to last week's show, I went on a bit of a rant towards the New Brunswick government, and it seemed to work because we're optimistic here in New Brunswick where we can potentially start playing some games next week. So what I'll do, I feel bad for the Eagles not being able to play, so I'll reach out to the government. I'll use my my connections here to see if we can get you and the team in the province here for a couple games in the coming weeks.
Well, Premier Rankin's only been in office for a little while, so regardless of political affiliation, I don't know if you want to be easy on the guy because he just got in, but you pull whatever strings you need to do, I guess, to get us back on the ice.
Now, which province is that you're gonna pull strings with?
Well, I'll talk to both, and you know what, Mr. Rankin and myself, we do have a little bit in common. We're both graduates of Holland College. Shout out to the island there. So, him and I, we actually did go to Holland College at the same time. He was in golf club management, and I was in hotel and restaurant management. So, we've got a bit of a connection there. So I'll give the rookie a call and see what I can do.
And it doesn't at all make me feel old that the Premier's younger than I am. There's nothing strange about that whatsoever.
Everybody has a potential to throw your name in politics there, Pat.
Well, there you go. Well, in all seriousness, though, I don't know if having a history with PEI would make him more inclined to want to get things going. But I'll tell you this, it'll be interesting to see how long the hiatus, as it were, because I was looking at the Wildcats schedule, and I thought that's not too bad because you're going to play the other two teams twice. That's not bad. But I think once you reach the end of that, like we were starting to hit it in our rink, like the fatigue of seeing the same two teams over and over again. So we'll see how long it lasts, because it's great to be playing, but certainly when you see the same opponent, you're starting to know the other team's fourth line as well as your own top line. So it's just another one of those things that's been different about this season for sure.
Yeah, it's not. We're just so happy to get back to the rink. We were like, yeah, we don't care if we're playing the same teams over and over. And I think if we get to the middle of April and still the same teams, we're like, we can open that bubble now at any point. If you guys just want to, or
the average person gets a lot greedier faster than they give themselves credit for.
Hockey nerds are like, yes, I can focus on this guy. I'll know everything. The average person's like, I'm not going to see that team again. And that's the thing. And like when the full division's
nothing
going,
is
that's
normal
tough.
for sure. But hey, they only finally got started in the WHL, and we're still waiting on the OHL. So things could be a lot worse.
That's very true. Well, you have a well-deserved night off, so we appreciate you taking the time to have a chat with us. And hopefully you're back calling games before you know it.
Yeah, always fun. Thanks, guys. And people may not remember this, but I know obviously the Maritime division was fully open, but the Eagles and Wildcats never played each other this year. But you're the only team we didn't get to see, so hopefully that gets rectified by season then.
Yeah, and if not, it'll just be another statistical anomaly to what is the weirdest season that's ever happened.
No question about that. All right, well, thanks, guys. Keep on keeping.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. Have a good night. It's always good to catch up with Pat. He's always full of little statistical fun facts.
Yeah, and again, I'd like to say a special thank you to whomever it was within the Cape Breton Eagles organization that allowed Pat McNeil to come on our show.
Yes, no, we always appreciate anyone that allows people from organizations to come on our show to enhance our show, if you will. It is funny, though. I did forget that we hadn't played them at all.
I also forgot.
Yeah,
I forgot. I definitely did forget about that one.
And we haven't seen, like I said, we haven't seen Halifax here. We've been to Halifax, but we haven't seen Halifax here yet. So who knows if we will? You know what? We've got a little bit of Wildcats hockey to talk about, so let's get into the rewind.
Weekly Rewind.
Like I said, there's not a lot to go over, but the Wildcats finally put some content out for the fans. They gave us a sneak peek. They've been doing skills competition where I'm assuming they filmed it all in one night and they're bringing it out an event every week. I haven't caught a lot of it. I watched the concourse shootout and I watched the goalies dryer shootout. I think last night they had the little bicycle race.
Yes.
And then tonight I think is the fastest skater, which if that's not Loshing, I will be absolutely shocked. And then they had the 5-on-5 scrimmage that they showed us on February 27th. White took that 5-3. Goals from Stammer, Hudson had 2, Loshing and De Jong. Red had the goals from Daniel and Tristan Sanchez, who was a call-up. It's funny. I kind of had to have the website open with the numbers.
Me too.
Because you couldn't really see the names. As you get going, I've been here for 2-3 years. You know the guys that were here before. You know the way they skate. You know the way they play. You're learning a whole new team. If we'd have had a regular season, you'd know the way the guys skate. You know kind of little things to pick up. I a couple times had to have when Stammer scored, I'm like 26. That's just gonna bring, and it feels bad, but you got to bring up the website because it's been 4 months since we've had hockey. Thoughts on the scrimmage? I mean, I was excited to see Filion. He played all right. You kind of forget that A, he's 16, and B, he hasn't played hockey all year.
Yeah.
So he made some great saves, and he'll be a goaltender that will grow into this. And just when we see him play, if something goes wrong, pump the brakes. He's 16. It was like Lavallee. It's the same kind of thing. He's 16. But you can see he's going to be quite a good goaltender in this league. Loshing, fastest kid alive.
Yeah, he's getting there. He looks like he's on a whole different level right now. Part of me wonders if it's because he stayed here in Moncton over Christmas and didn't go home, so he got that ice time, right? Didn't have to quarantine, so he was on the ice. He's got a bit of a advantage on these other players. You can't take much away from this scrimmage because, I mean, let's be honest, they weren't going full tilt. They were going, I'd
balls probably
out.
Say 70% they were going.
It was close. It wasn't 100%. But there was this one goal where, I sent you the video of it.
Yeah.
It was a wrist shot of his where I don't think any goalie in the league would have stopped it. It was penciled for the top shelf, and it was an absolute rocket. So that's I kind of like, I forget what's that play called where he doesn't come off his off wing, but he's anyways. You kind of saw the play developing, and man, if he's in that spot, top of the face-off dot, or
coming off the half wall,
that let it rip. He's going to score 10 of goals, I think, from that spot. Other than that, look, Barbashev is tall.
Barbashev, yeah. He had some good moments. He had a couple, and again, it's 70%. I was excited to watch it, dig in, see what kind of systems they're running. No, I'm kidding. He had a couple plays where he just kind of tried to back pass a few times, and a couple times it worked, a couple times it got picked off, and you're just like, once he learns the game and kind of takes that out. But he was big. He held the puck when he had it. You can see when he gets used to the game, he's going to be a little bit of a force.
You see the potential.
Yep.
There's a couple moments there. Like there was another goal where I forget who scored it, but to me, look, it was called a goal. It was probably would have been offside in a real game, but the fact he literally did the splits to try to stay onside in a scrimmage, come on, that's good effort right there. So I got to give him full marks for that. His foot speed, just isn't there yet.
Who he kind of reminds me of from a really over-the-top hot take, way too much expectation? He's kind of like Draisaitl. He's a big body. He can shield guys from the puck. His foot speed isn't like Draisaitl doesn't have the foot speed to compete with McDavid and all that, but he's a big body. He's smart with the puck. He can grow into that type. And I'm not saying he's that type of player, but that's just kind of the mold that you can get, like a big power forward.
Yeah, for sure. If his foot speed if it catches up, I'd love for him to stay in Moncton for the summer, to train and get that ice time and work out. I don't know if it'll happen. Maybe he goes down to the States and lives with Ivan again.
That'll work too for training and ice time, right?
You train daily. Sorry, whoa, what the hell happened there? Headset almost fell off. Train daily with an NHLer. You can't go wrong with that. So. That's a huge wish. Love for him to stay in Moncton, or I'm sure he trains with his brother anyways, but to be able to get that intensity off the ice would be a huge benefit to him for sure.
My favorite goal was the second Hudson goal that Loshing basically went around everyone.
Yes,
that you sent me and took everyone with him, and Hudson was standing right there, and you had sent me a few things the day of. I was busy. But the Hudson penalty on ISN.
I don't know what he was doing there, man.
I don't know if
he's
he's
his
just
head off. But
I don't know if he's just trying to grab him and trying to turn, and his momentum took him.
That was a serious clothesline. Man, took his head off. Holy jeez.
Probably owed him an ice cap after trying to take his head off. I don't know. I watched it watching it again. I was like, what were you doing?
That was different. Glad they called the penalty on that one.
Yeah, no, it was nice to see the team playing 5-on-5 and getting a gauge a little bit of what this team, and it'll be interesting to see how they put the lines together. Because again, the lines that they're playing with aren't the guys they were going. They went 5-on-5. If you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. It's on the Moncton Wildcats YouTube page. They went 5-on-5 for 2 periods, and then they went 3-on-3, and then they went into a kind of a shootout because they ended up tied after the 3-on-3. But let's get to everyone's favorite part of the show.
Eric Murray Realty. Buy a house from him.
Stick tap of the week.
Oh, this one's an easy one. A very, very easy one. I didn't have to do much research for this one. So we're gonna have a stick tap of the week to Jonathan Henry, Wildcats. I think assistant equipment manager, winning the Curling Day in Canada contest with over 11,000 votes. Trip to the 2022 Brier. When I first saw this story, I read all the he didn't have that many votes. And then you saw Neil Hodge pick up the story. You saw the Wildcats tweet about it. So it got a little more social media presence. We'll call it that. So I think that's what community can do to win when you need when you're trying to, I guess, win something, or the community will step up and have your back. And I think that's what I know. I put my vote in. and I'm sure everybody listening had put their vote in. So congratulations, Jonathan. Everybody knows you at the rink, and this is going to be a great experience for you. If you need a +1, I'm sure you'll take your I'm sure Peter or Shirley will come along, but I'm always available if you want to take me to the Briar with you. I wouldn't mind seeing some curling because listen, the Scotties just ended. The Briar's coming up. They're still doing a Briar,
Friday.
right?
Yeah, so they're in the Martin McPhail Center in Calgary for 2 months. So they got the Briar the Scotties that just went for 10 days. And then they've got the Briar that starts Friday for 10 days or whatever. And then they've got a mixed doubles event. There's some news that the Women's Worlds could be coming there because, Carrie Anderson won it last year in February. Didn't get to go to the Worlds because it was shut down. She's won it back-to-back years and hasn't even got to compete in the World. So there is some talk of the Worlds coming to Calgary to that bubble. If you want more information, if you want to know, follow Devin Haru on Twitter. Oh, all right. And the Briar is being held in Lethbridge. So I did live in Lethbridge for just over a year. So if you do need a +1 and Jeremy's not available, I do know Lethbridge quite well.
The Stick Tap Week, sponsored by Eric Murray Real Estate with the Remax Avante team. If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the Greater Moncton or surrounding area, make sure to check him out on social media or give him a call at 506-863-8802.
No cat of the week this week, although we are getting close to actually having cats of the week from actual hockey games. Just please get us to yellow, but that's going to do it for this week.
I'll give an honorable mention for a cat of the week if I could.
You can.
So I'm going to do an honorable mention to Wildcats prospect Jake Rossi. So his, I guess I don't call it season. The CCHL is calling it developmental scrimmage action.
Oh, that's different. That's interesting.
So it's a different words. They started early last year, in the October range, and they got shut down. They just started back up. 5 points in 7 games for a 16-year-old playing Junior A is pretty good. He's suiting up with the Cornwall Colts of the CCHL, so that's Ontario Junior A. So if anybody wants to keep track of his progression, that's where you'd find him. So usually they play in every weekend. They played Friday night. He had a 3-point night Friday night, a goal and 2 assists. Saturday afternoon, didn't hit the score sheet, but he did get a game misconduct for checking from behind. Look, a little, showing off that intensity, which
That's
is
what
good.
you want to see. You can put the puck in the net, a little bit of intensity.
Exactly. You're going for that complete player, right? So, honorable mention as cat of the week will go to prospect Jake Rossi.
I like that. We did it 2 weeks ago with Justin Katz, so that we'll put him on there, and hopefully he's here next year. So, that'll do it for this week. Thanks to everyone for downloading, joining us. Big thanks to Pat McNeil for joining us to chat about the Eagles and the new hockey life that, like I said, the Cats are getting ready to embark on. I guess we'll see you next week. I can say we'll see you next week, and we will have preview of actual hockey games as the Wildcats get set to host the Titan and the Sea Dogs. Thanks again. Stay safe. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Wildcats Podcast. Follow us on social media at Moncton Wildcast.